So we want to get more insight into the situation of caterers. I think it was over a month and a half ago we interviewed one of them who explained that it was just getting increasingly difficult to continue in this business because not only was the 97 pesos per child too small, but the fact that they were also owed a lot of money by the secretariat. Let's just try and understand the extent of the indebtedness and what else they are saying. Good morning, Madam Helena Pia. Thanks for joining us, Helena Pia.
Good morning, Bernard. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. So I think we spoke over a month and a half ago, thinking that things would have improved by now. So are you saying that since the last time we spoke, no payment has been made?
Good morning to your listeners. Bernard, the problem now is not about the payment alone. As for the payment, whether it's 1,000 years, 500 years, it will come. The problem now is how much we are being paid per child. And I think I missed your program yesterday, but upon listening to the repeat this morning, I heard Siba saying a whole lot of things as if he has come down to the cages, and yet so we are not giving them listening ears. Hello, are you on the line?
So you are saying Siba is suggesting as if that they are trying to talk to you and you are not listening.
They've dialogued with us on so many occasions on different platforms, and yet so we don't want to listen to them. As if they are some kids who are very stubborn that even when you tell them to sit down, they say, no, I'm standing. Hello.
I'm listening. So are you saying that they've not tried to engage you at all?
You know, anytime they come on air, they talk very nicely to you guys, make it look as if the caterers, Sebi. Some of us don't even know how to write our names, so they can treat us anyhow. Look, barely 2 months ago, monies were given to them to organize programs for caterers. Do you know what they did? They selected a few women organizers to a place, and they made show off that they were doing training. Where did they get the money from? Now they are saying there's no money. Where did they get the money from? This same money that they should sit down and dialogue with us, district by district, region by region, they will not do. Then they will come on air and paint the whole thing blue, black. Why?
How united are the caterers about this strike? Is this national or this is still on the regional level?
My brother, we are talking about money. We are talking about the welfare of our children. Put unity aside. We want the betterment of this country. We want something good for the beneficiaries. So why is Siba talking as if they always talk to us, yet we don't listen to them? I didn't want to talk. But the way Siba and Honorable Mrs. Koshiga handles the issue, as if we don't know our left from right. Ask Koshiga, how many times has she called caterers to meeting? How many times? Please. They should be very careful the way they come to air and talk as if we don't know what we are doing. Look, we are in it. We know what we are going through. But we cannot, I'm out tell you that, oh, please, this is our need. Calm us down. Don't put petrol into the fire again. Please. Bernard.
Have you had the chance to meet your minister, the Minister for Gender?
Is on air right now. Because upon listening to what he was saying, throwing about, and they are dialoguing. This issue started way back 2020. We are in 2023. What is happening? What are they dialoguing? That they cannot even come to us to tell us that, oh, this is what the situation is. Yet they go on air and be saying all sorts of things. I think the caterers are being stubborn. Please. If they want to worry us, we have so many ways. But please, we want peace. So Siba, if he says he's the PR of school feeding, he shouldn't talk for only the secretariat. He should also talk for the caterers. Because if school feed is not there, he cannot be PRO. Please.
I was asking if you had had a chance as a group to meet the minister in charge of the sector.
Where do you meet her? My dear, where? Where do you meet her? Has he even come out to say that, yes, I was appointed. I went for vetting. I've been nominated. I've been sworn in. Okay, my people, now I'm here for you. Any grievances, bring it to us. You call, you will not even get her. You go to his office, you will see her. You go to the secretariat, they say, oh, Yasiabre. This is all they do.
So how long?
And you see them driving around telling you that we are working assiduously, we are working, and you are working. The people you are working for, talk to them, to you talk to them. You are working for me, yet you don't talk to me. How do I know you are working for me? You are being taken for granted. That is the word.
So I was asking, how determined are you in terms of the strike? Today is the first day of the strike. How long will it take?
From them, as long as we hear from them. As long as we hear from them. Look, anytime school reopens, since 2017, they bring directives on how we should go about the cooking. When we are supposed to be on duty cooking, like so and so date to so and so date. Because we told them we want increments since last year. This time, when school reopens, no directives, not from the coordinators, the zonal coordinators, the regional, the national, not at all. You hear anything from them. But when you stand up that, hey, I won't go pay, then they'll write, go and cook. No caterer has the right. No caterer, that is what they'll tell you. Please. They think we are kids that they'll control us about. Hey, go and cook. If you don't cook, cooking this, they'll take it out from your pay. If you know you can't cook, it's not by force. Somebody wants the job, and you are cutting it, and you are flexing. If you can't cook, put your things down. Why?
Madam, roughly how many caterers?
Hold on. If I put the job down, the next person coming is the person that saying, so this kind of baby, and she'll be hard up. So, Baomi, you also talk.
I wanted to find out roughly how many caterers we have. How large is the group?
Across the country.
Yeah.
So you can imagine for yourself. It's the whole 16 regions that the school feeding program is going on.
So for all the regions today, the children will not eat?
It's not only today. It's not only today. Since school reopened, the number of caterers who are going to school is not even up to 100 caterers. The whole country is not even up to 100. I don't like school.
Wow.
Yes.
What about you?
School reopened on the 3rd of April.
What about using the party route? Since most of you are from the party, can't you go to the general secretary and say, you are being frustrated, you are legitimate cooks, you are doing a job and you are not being listened to? Can't you use your national executive to try and get the coordinators to listen to you?
Bernard, every institution there are structures. School feeding caterers, we report to zonal coordinators. Zonal coordinators report to their regional coordinators. There are levels. Fine. Now, if you're a zonal coordinator and you're even trying to be nice with your caterers, they sabotage you. That one is not my issue because I don't know what goes into their sabotaging and whatever. But the point I'm making is, even if we are party members, now it's not the party that is paying us. You get it? The party cannot pay us. Even if you cry and cry and cry to the parties, they will not pay because they'll tell us they don't pay us. Or they will say that they will talk. If they say it and they don't listen to them, what would you do? What will you do? So the problem is at the secretariat. The fake e-switch that is created that they are paying monies on, they should put a stop to it so that those who are working will enjoy our pay. The problem is at the secretariat. It's not at the party level.
But you are aware. I understand. I just wanted to ask that whilst the secretariat may have problems, the issue about the proposed increase from 97 pesos to 350 pesos is beyond the secretariat because that's a policy decision above them, right?
It's a policy decision about them. But we were in this Ghana when the finance minister came out saying the grants will be increased. What have they done about it? What have they communicated to us? We, the beneficiaries, what have they communicated to us? Even if it's true that they are dialoguing, what have they come to tell us? That is the only question I'm asking. What have they come to tell us? Oh, KHS, so and so, meet us at this place. We are going to dialogue. We are going to meet. We will tell you what and what and what. Ask them, what have they come out to tell us for us to become that, oh, even if it's 2024, the increment will come. And when it will come. Are we not supposed to know what is going on? Hello.
I'm still here. So look,
yes.
For me, we can only give.
Is it not our right to know how much we are cooking for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they say we should cook. We've gotten the opportunity to cook. So whether we are dying, we are living, we should continue to cook. Because we are cooking for the party. We are working for the party. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you can't sleep in your house. Creditors are chasing you around here and there. This week, when you sleep here, the following week you have to go and sleep here because they know you are here. When you hear they know you are here, now you have to run to another place. Why?
Well,
fine. It's party work. Those who are driving the V8 and moving about, are they better than we, the caterers? Or because we are in the kitchen, we don't know how to read and write?
No, I mean, look, even the 350 pesos is low because I was asking my colleagues here. Most of us have our kids in schools, and the amount we pay per day for food is sometimes 10 cedis or even 20.
My child pays 8 cedis every day for feeding.
Yes, so it's tough.
Every day. Aside the feeding, snack, everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you are paying me 97%. You say I shouldn't talk because you are dialoguing. Dialoguing that I don't know whether you started from January or December. Where you have gotten to, I don't know. No, nothing. Because you are dialoguing, so I should continue to cook.
It means the quality.
We shouldn't instigate the caterers not to go and cook. They should go and cook. They are pleading. How much more will you plead?
Madam Apia, it also means that the quality of what is being prepared across the country must be very, very low for the 97 pesos.
You can say that. That one, don't let me say it. You leave it to yourself. You can judge it better because you're also in the country. You know the economic situation. So that one, I leave it to you to answer.
Okay, we'll leave it here, but thank you for talking to us. We appreciate your time, and hopefully the authorities will listen. So this is a very frustrated caterer, Helena Apia. We spoke to her a few weeks ago. Situation hasn't changed. Guys, this is really sad. And she actually feels that the secretariat itself is not working in their interest, and then 97 pesos per day per child. And so now in public schools there's no food.
I think
in public basic schools there's no food for the
yes.
children because the strike is on.
Yes, on the surface of it, we can have a conversation about this just being a pure cash flow problem, isn't it? The country's broke.
Yes.
So they don't have money. So they are not. That's why they will not revise that. That's why they are struggling to revise the 97 pesos to the 3, because 3 cedis 50 pesos will be a significant increase. Now, as at last year, they were asking for 3 cedis last year when they started having some of these conversations. Now, this year they are saying it has moved to 3.5.
And there's still no movement.
And
but
there's
the
still
Minister
no
of
movement.
Finance promised that they were going.
Oh no, there's no money.
Are you sure there's no money? So there's no money is a general term, but there's money in some places.
No, I'm just saying. So it's a cash flow problem.
Go ahead.
I'm coming. I'm making a point.
If you
Bernard,
don't have
hold
money
on.
in your house, your daughter will still eat.
Bernard, hold on. I know. That's
So
what I'm saying.
that one-
I'm getting to the point of, if you look at it, it also goes to the priorities of the government. We could go back and check last year and last 2 years' budget. How much money was spent on the National Cathedral? And how much money is spent on the school feeding program? Which one matters more? Now, the school feeding program and Maslock are two of the most tangible and impactful social policy programs we have in this country.
On paper.
On paper. They are measurable.
Yeah.
You can measure clearly what its impact has been in terms of enrollment, in terms of keeping students in school.
Yep.
Okay. I think it costs like $100 million a year to run the school feeding program. Around $100 million. So we've been running this program since 2005. Should it not have evolved to the point where there should be a regular and more reliable source of funding for a program that has been run since 2005, born out of our signing up to the Millennium Development Goals, President Kufuor doing what he wanted to do, other presidents taking it on. It has grown.
Donors are also involved.
Yes, donors are also involved. So my concern has to do with the fact that the program is still being run the same way it was being run in terms of funding.
And it's not been prioritized.
And hasn't been prioritized. So we are spending the same year that we spend 100 million, and we know that we're not going to find food money. We spend $58 million on a cathedral.
Yeah. And because the people who are cooking are supposed to be party people, from what she's saying, you can tell them that, hey, you didn't even get the contract by merit, so
yeah,
you
keep
can't
quiet.
shout.
And that's why they've been threatening them and all. Yes,
Yeah,
I listened to the lady who just spoke on another platform. She was very upset.
Even today, I couldn't even do the interview. Every question I'm asking, she's so bored.
Yeah, she's very upset because it looks like they feel they are being taken for granted.
Yeah.
But that is also something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Okay, where we cannot reduce an important social protection function like this to political clientelism. That's what I'm saying, from 2005 till now,
Couldn't there have been a better way?
the structure should have evolved such that, okay, 2005 to maybe 2015, let's give ourselves that.
10 years after that.
10 years,
You can even
we
let
should
the
have,
assemblies make the payment.
yeah, we
Why
should
do you
have gone
to
through
find
a
even
process
secretariat?
that is more rigorous, where the political clientelism aspect would have reduced significantly,
Yeah.
where the program would be forward-looking, where they know that, okay, every year this is where our money comes from. So we can plan and say, okay, if the economy is hard like this, we can find X amount and put it here, so that we can move forward at this. But at the moment, we are still running it the same way. The prioritization is not there.
Yeah.
So the economy finds itself in difficulty. So we cannot feed school children.
It's so sad.
And it's very
You
disappointing.
can't feed public school kids.
It's very
And,
disappointing.
I mean, think about that. You can't feed. It's not. And I was using a home analogy. So even if there's no money in your house, feeding your kids there is almost like the number one
Yeah.
priority for a country. So I don't know whether decentralization would have solved the problem, because we have all these secretariats. We have the Free SHS Secretariat, we have the School Feeding Secretariat, and these secretariats tend to add to the bureaucracy without actually enhancing the efficiency of service delivery. So that if every district had their own school feeding, I don't know, whatever, because indeed the districts are in charge of the quality of education in their districts anyway. So I don't know whether that's the part of the problem, but it's really disheartening that, and I'm told that it's not just the school feeding program that's in arrears. I'm told the LEAP is also in massive arrears. I don't know. Wait, let's read a few quick comments and then we'll see where this leads us.
Yeah. Jones Adoboinla says the patapa behavior by the Ashanti Regional Minister when the caterers called on him was a signal to tell the caterers that their problems were not really priority, really. You can feel it in Madam Apia's voice that she bought pa. God help Ghana. I wonder how and where they will get the money to cook for the kids. It's not easy. Charlie. This one says, I'm a teacher in a school in La. In fact, we are tired of school children begging us for food and money every day.
Oh.
Children have not been fed since January.
Oh.
Parents send their kids to school without a peswa. Note, most of these children are not staying with their biological parents.
Charlie, this is much deeper than we think.
Yeah. For me, and one of the underlying things and that, with the school feeding thing it's a way of keeping children in school. It's a school retention policy. So
for a lot of the kids,
yes,
the only place
they get at least one.
Be safe.
Yes, they'll be safe. It's in the school. So it's just really appalling. More messages. It's 2023, and kids are being fed on a 97 peswa grant, and this man is proud to project increment to 3 cedis. This is very, very wrong. We don't value kids, and it's true. Just to put things into context, 97 pesos won't buy you 2 pieces of tom.
Nothing.
When I say, some people laugh, but it's just to let you know.
97 pesos is almost worthless.
Won't buy you. If can't buy you 2 sachets of
one
water,
Ghana CD is almost worthless.
and we are feeding children on that.
But you see, Bernard, that's what I'm saying. The structure of it needs to change. You see, if you were running this outside of the political clientelism, and I have serious problems with that, but it's the reality that we have. Okay. And a proper system. The persons who run this will be able to tell you that, okay, prices are at this point.
Yes.
Okay. We need to do A, B, C, D. The way you address and treat those the service providers will be significantly different from the way you treat these ones. So you might not even have this situation coming up. Secondly, the service providers will have access to a certain kind of resource. Okay. So thirdly, there's where is the link between the government, the service providers, and access to finance to provide this? You see, because then the government would be able to tell certain lending organizations that, look, these people, if a person comes to you and this person falls within this, perhaps you have to help the person gain access to funding because this person does this for us. Okay, so the system is supposed to be a lot more sophisticated than currently we have, where Bernard Davle wins something as district something, and then government changes, and Bernard carries Godfred and Nathan along and say, hey, these people are going to cook, without consideration for the fact that maybe I have finances to cook for 6 months. Nathan has finances to cook for 5 months. You need somebody who has the wherewithal, perhaps, to be able to cook for 2-3 years without blinking.
That's what business can you do for 2-3 years and not be paid?
No, it's not even that. I'm just saying.
2 years there, wow.
Fine.
3 months is okay. No. For any business, if you are not paid for 6 months, you are hot.
No, but I hope you understand the point.
I get
the
your point that
the
design of
the design of the program as it is has to change, and the government must admit that the difficulty that it is facing now is born out of even the current design. The service providers will also admit that the current design is the reason why Madam Apia sounds as upset as she is, because so far as she's concerned, she's doing her party a favor.
Oh yeah,
you understand.
And
the party is not. The party is also saying we are doing you a favor. You have a coordinator from all interviews that I've had who is not interested in engaging them, because it's not a matter of administrator to service provider. It's a matter of senior party woman to junior party woman. This is basically a battle between the women's wing of the MPP.
Let's read more comments on the school feeding program challenges.
All right. This one says it's unthinkable for the government to even approve a 97 peswa feeding grant per child. What food are we giving to our future leaders? How much is a bottle of water when they take after lunch? Meanwhile, the average cost of lunch for those sitting at the top is 100 cedis. God is watching them and their kids too.
But who told you they even drink a bottle of water? They probably go and drink pipe water.
Yeah, so he's saying that he's just looking at the numbers, you know. Yeah. This one says we don't need a national secretariat for school feeding. Everything, including payment, should be handled by the MMDAs. Kofi from Osu said that. Elik Pliminungwa says, good morning, Citi FM. This is what my human mind is telling me. I think the people at the secretariat have invested the money for financial gains, and they don't have it back to pay the cost.
It's not be easy.
We were talking school feeding. We spoke to some of the actors or principal actors in there, and essentially the caterers are very unhappy with the conditions.
Exactly.
You know. And so we've been joined on the line by MP for Bulsa South, Clement Apaak. He's a member of the Education Committee of Parliament. We'll also get his thoughts on this and maybe figure out what Parliament can do to try and see if they can remedy the situation. Good morning, Honorable Clement Apaak, and thank you so much for joining us on the Citi Breakfast Show.
Yes, good morning to you and your co-host and to all our listeners. I know the people in Bulsa South listen to CPFM a lot, so I greet all of them as well.
Thank you so much for your time. Initial thoughts on this. We've, in the last few weeks, or at least going back a few weeks or months, we've heard several complaints from caterers who work under the National School Feeding Program They say they are going on a strike because they've not been paid arrears, and just the conditions surrounding the policy or the intervention just aren't looking good. Your thoughts as a lawmaker and somebody who is very concerned about this as it relates to education to a large extent?
Well, first of all, let me indicate that I have followed very keenly what has been going on with regards to the school feeding program and more generally the unfortunate development in the educational sector. But let me put on record that the school feeding program is housed under the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, not under the Ministry of Education. But be as it may, by virtue of the fact that it is a program that has been designed and is being implemented to support the development of our human resource capacity, the Education Committee of Parliament is naturally a stakeholder. I say so because the program was implemented, first of all, to provide what government describes as one nutritious hot meal a day to students in our public basic school system, particularly in the deprived communities. Now, the purpose for this is dual. One is that when food is provided in school to feed students or pupils, it becomes an incentive, or if you like, a conduit for an increase in enrollment. Now, the research has shown that a lot of disadvantaged, marginalized, poor families have challenges goes to school because they cannot feed them. So when the parents and even the children know that when I go to school, at a very minimum, I am guaranteed decent meal a day, school then becomes attractive. So over the years, the statistics have shown that indeed we have seen an increase in enrollment, and this can partly be attributed to the school feeding program. Now, it's not just sufficient for them to enroll. They must be retained. So we also speak about retention. So when they enroll because they know they will be fed a meal a day, and parents are comfortable sending their children to school because they know they will be fed. Once they are fed every day, then they stay in school. But when we have the situation that we are currently facing, where the caterers are unable to cook because they are old, and they are unable to cook because the rate per child has now become so inadequate for them to prepare the nutritious meal per child per day, it clearly impacts the enrollment but retention negatively. It is a very worrisome situation, and that is why I am giving you this background. Now, why are we where we are? It is simple. We are where we are because government has failed to meet its obligations to the school feeding caterers. And there ought to be no reason why government should owe the school feeding caterers and why government is refusing against obvious and blatant evidence to the effect that 9 pesos is not even sufficient to prepare a decent meal for a pet cat or a pet dog. And yet, we are saying that these women should perform in these very difficult economic conditions where the cost of every food item has risen astronomically. And yet we fail to see the need to increase the fee per student so that the women can prepare what is described as a hot, nutritious meal to feed our wards. You see, it is not about a lack of resources. Yes, we may be in economic crisis as a result of reckless borrowing, barefaced corruption, and a tendency to blame everyone else but those managing our economy for our current predicament. It is about misplaced priorities. And I say so because if you were to look at the 2023 budget, and you go to Appendix 6, page 229, the appendix has listed 16 cost centers or programs that government itself designates as government flagship programs, cost of government flagship programs. So you have the free senior high school, just about 3 billion. You have water and sanitation. You have school feeding. And guess what? The amount allocated to school feeding program is 969 million Ghana cedis. So you tell, why is government failing to pay the caterers their arrears? And why is government adamant in increasing the fee to feed a child per day under these conditions? And yet the same government can actually find money to support a tree planting exercise, when in fact that tree planting exercise, Greening Ghana, is not captured under the list of government flagship programs. And you see, in any democracy, where you have leadership, servant leaders, who are truly there to serve their people, when you have the type of debilitating economic challenges that we face, the first thing you do is to try and mobilize whatever meager resources you still have to support social intervention programs that go to benefit the less fortunate, the marginalized, and indeed the downtrodden. But look at what government is eager to spend money on, to the detriment of the over 3 million children in the over 10,000 public basic schools that this program has been operating. So it is about priorities. If government has money to fund Green Ghana, tree planting, the same government that will sit by and the permits are given to mining companies to go and mine in forest reserves and destroy trees, can deem it fit to apply money to plant trees when we can't even protect what we have to the detriment of feeding our wards, then you know that this government is not a government that prioritizes the needs of the people and the less fortunate.
Honorable Apaak, so what can Parliament do? You've highlighted the fact that in terms of the funding, it's skewed to the disadvantage of the school feeding program, and you gave us some numbers. As an MP, as a member of the Education Committee, and as a member of just the wider floor, the wider house, what can Parliament do? Can Parliament bring somebody in to ask, to answer a few questions in terms of why things are going wrong? And what can Parliament do to ensure that a lot more funds are at the disposal of the school feeding secretariat, so these basic school children can have food and by extension stay in school so that their lives can be better off further down the line?
Well, you see, I think you misunderstood me. Didn't give the figures in comparison. What I'm saying is that government itself has indicated that the school feeding program is a flagship program.
Yes.
And a certain amount has been allocated, and I know that Parliament has approved.
Yes, you mentioned 969 million. Yes.
So why is government not disbursing those monies? That is the point I sought to make. But you have asked a question. And yes, I can tell your authority, and if you were to ask your parliamentary correspondent, right before we rose as a house, a question that I had filed to the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection on this very school feeding program was responded to. And in fact, I filed that question specifically to my constituency of Bucha South, where I had concrete evidence that of the 24 schools that were supposed to be benefiting from the program, just about half of them were benefiting. And even the half that were benefiting, the feeding was intermittent. And the quality of food and the quantity of the food was nothing to write home about. So I asked the minister, and she came to respond. And the response was that, yes, government owes school feeding caterers.
Okay.
An arrangement were being made to pay the caterers. And when I went on to ask her what was being done to ensure that all the 32 basic schools in the Busa South constituency benefited from the program, her response was that even when resources became available, all the schools will be captured. So the issue is not for a lack of probing or advocacy or drawing government's attention through its minister to the current challenges that we have. It is simple. Government simply does not prioritize programs like the school feeding program, like interventions like the capitation grant, interventions in the area of the feeding grants of special needs schools, school for the deaf, school for the blind. Government has chosen to prioritize what it deems fit and I dare say what would benefit those who are supposed to be working in our collective interest. So I will have to call on Ghanaians to also rise up and express disgust and anger. We cannot leave the fight to only the opposition and a few local civil society organizations. Because these monies are not monies that are coming from the personal coffers of President Akufo-Addo, or for that matter, his vice, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And these children are the future of this nation. So rather than throwing monies at the Galamsey fight that we know is fraudulent, rather than throwing monies to plant trees that we have no evidence to show that we are benefiting from those trees, versus looking the other way for existing forest reserves to be destroyed, we should be throwing the money that we have to finance the school feeding program, to provide a rate that is decent and reasonable so that our wards will be fed, so that Ghana can have a better future.
Thank you so much for your time, Honorable Clement Apaak. He's MP for Busa South, and he was expressing concerns on the latest episode with the school feeding program. Caterers have declared a strike. They say they will not prepare the food because they are old for a long period. Mm-hmm. And for context, if somebody's wondering what exactly is going on, well, the grant gives 97 pesos to every child. That's what every child is fed with or fed on, if you want, per day. The caterer says woefully inadequate, but even in that state, the government hasn't paid them. The government is owing them for an extended period. So they say they are not cooking until their monies are paid. They say they owe suppliers. So it's not like they use their whatever, but they've gone to sometimes take some of these items on credit. They need to pay. They've taken loans and all of that. So, guys, really, that is the situation, and it's very disturbing.
It is indeed
very, very disturbing.
And you see, it's difficult to actually understand what is going through the minds of the officials handling this particular space, because it would seem that even the attitude that should guide the actions is not selling them as people who care about what's happening. I mean, we all saw how the Ashanti regional minister, for instance, reacted to the
when the caterers went to his
caterers
office,
when they went to his office unsolicited. That was not how you, as a public officer, react to a situation like that. Clearly, it did not show that he cared about the situation, whatever his intentions may well have been. And listening to the lady we just spoke to, uh, the kinds of things that she said, the apparent dismissive attitude that officials or posture that officials are allegedly demonstrating towards these caterers. I mean, for God's sake, we all do know that all of them, or some of them, or majority of them, as the case may be, are party loyalists who have been, co-opted and thrown in there to cook for our children. But that doesn't mean that your attitude towards them should be dismissive merely because they are demanding their pound of flesh. Because these are monies owed them. These are funds that they need to run the program. And if you waive this thing or this policy all the time as one of the things that you are using to keep children in school, to keep more children, encouraging them to go to school and all of that, then the expectation would be that you would find the money and support it. As the Honorable Apaak rightly stated, we have found money to support, tree planting. We saw the stories this morning.
It's what, 2.5 million cedis.
This is happening at the time that we ourselves as a people and as a government have failed to protect many of the trees that are in the forest reserves by reason of our own failure as a people to commit to the fight against illegal mining. So these trees that were planted so many centuries and so many decades and so many years ago, we are ravaging them by our own actions and inactions, and complete failure on the part of government to deal with the problem of illegal mining. We are doing very little in reclaiming the lands that have been devastated, the water bodies that have been hugely polluted. And what you have is in the name of greening Ghana, we have found the money to go and plant more trees. Great initiative, no two ways about it. It is good that we will continue or will encourage ourselves as a nation that new trees should be planted to replace the old ones. But what are we doing to protect the old ones? So if we find the money for things like that, we should equally find money to develop the human resource that this country needs to be able to develop. These kids we're talking about, they are the future. They will be the future leaders of this country, the future parliamentarians, future, members of the judiciary. We'll have future presidents emerge out of them. The future ambassadors, the future radio broadcasters, sports journalists. These are the people who will lead tomorrow. And here we are, embarrassingly, we say we cannot find the money for some reason, or that we are lethargic in how we deal with their problems. I think it is a huge embarrassment, and it would seem to suggest that really the government simply doesn't care. And I do not think that that's the message it should be sending. This thing has been boiling for some time now.
Oh, yes.
And a responsible and a responsive government ought to have dealt with this matter, because we have discussed this matter here ad nauseum.
Yes.
And it would seem that really,
because between the start of the year and now, this is about the second or third time
Exactly.
this has emerged.
Which responsible government sits down for things to degenerate this much? It cannot be right. And the attitude that if you can't do it, leave the job, let somebody else come in, that is not how you deal with it. It is not right. It is not like you do not owe them. You owe them, we are told. So pay the money. Pay the money. We cannot. There are things that we must prioritize. There are people they are still paying. They are doing all of those things. They're finding the money for all of these things. Why can't they find the money to support the kids' education? No, I can't think far.
Really, really sad.